Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
We love to dig into the research, and today we are tackling a question that I bet a lot of you have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
How much do our siblings actually shape us?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, come on, we've all got stories.
Yeah.
So to really get into this, we've got a great lineup of sources today. We've got a research review from the Journal of Family Theory and Review.
Yeah.
We've got a study from the International Journal of Psychology and Educational Studies.
Wow.
And because we always like to bring in different perspectives, we're going to sprinkle in some insights from a Psychology Today article.
Sounds great.
All right, so jumping right in, one of the things that really struck me from the research review was just how understudied sibling relationships are.
Yeah. It's really remarkable when you think about it. I mean, these are the longest lasting relationships for most people.
Right.
Yet they've received far less attention than other family dynamics, particularly the parent-child relationship.
It's true. And you think about it, we spend years, bumping heads with these people, sharing secrets, competing for attention. It's bound to leave a mark.
Yeah.
And what's even more interesting is you think about the demographic trends, right? People are living longer. They're delaying marriage or foregoing it altogether and having fewer kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like these sibling bonds are going to become even more important in the future.
Absolutely. And that makes all this research so crucial because imagine a future where those relationships are the central support system for many individuals.
Right. I mean, it's a whole different way of thinking about family and the support system.
Totally.
Okay, so let's get into some of the findings here.
Yep.
The research review painted a surprisingly positive picture of adult sibling relationships, saying that generally there's less conflict than in childhood.
Okay.
So did we all just magically mature overnight?
Well, I think it's important to consider that older adults tend to prioritize positive relationships.
Okay.
And they try to kind of avoid negativity.
Sure.
So perhaps their view of their siblings is a bit, rose-tinted,
Yeah.
focusing on the good and downplaying the bad.
That's a good point because our memories can be so selective.
Absolutely.
Right. We tend to latch on to the positive and block out, some of those more difficult moments.
Exactly.
Now, another thing that I found really curious was this finding that adults whose parents are still living tend to report warmer sibling relationships.
Interesting.
Why would that be?
Parents often act as kind of kin keepers,
Okay.
facilitating communication and connection between their children. They might arrange gatherings, they might help mediate disagreements, or simply just encourage their kids to stay in touch.
Right.
So without that parental influence, some sibling bonds might naturally weaken.
So it's almost like the parents are the anchor,
Right.
keeping everyone tethered.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating. Now, speaking of family dynamics,
Yeah.
does family structure actually play a role in how close siblings are?
That's a really interesting question. And the research suggests that sister-sister pairs often report the strongest bonds.
Okay.
Now, this could be due to a number of factors. It could be shared gender socialization. It could be a greater emphasis on emotional expression among women, or simply just the fact that they've had a lifetime to practice those communication skills.
Right. And that makes me wonder, is it nature or nurture?
Right.
Are they inherently closer, or is it because society encourages them to share more?
Right.
What about other things like marital status,
Yeah.
having kids divorce? Do those impact sibling relationships?
Yeah, those are all really important factors. And the research is pretty mixed.
Okay.
Some studies suggest that married siblings or those with children might have less supportive relationships,
That makes sense.
possibly due to the demands on their time and energy.
Yeah, you're juggling a spouse, kids' work.
Right.
Where's the bandwidth for your siblings?
Absolutely. And then you throw step siblings and half siblings into the mix.
Oh, my God.
Talk about complex family trees.
Right, and with blended families becoming so much more common. Right.
It's going to be really fascinating to see how these dynamics evolve. I mean, we're essentially watching a social experiment unfold in real time.
Yeah, it's like a whole new frontier of family dynamics.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a study that really delves into the influence of parents.
Okay.
This one from the International Journal of Psychology and Educational Studies looked at how parental attitudes towards academic achievement impacted both sibling relationships and their resilience.
Right, and resilience, which is, that ability to bounce back from challenges is absolutely essential in today's world.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and the study found that children with parents who are supportive of academic achievement, but without applying excessive pressure, tended to have warmer and more resilient relationships with their siblings.
So it's not about pushing them to be the next Einstein,
Right.
but fostering a love of learning in a supportive environment.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Here's where things get a little interesting.
The study also linked higher parental support to increased conflict between siblings.
Interesting.
Why would that be?
Well, it might seem a little counterintuitive, but conflict isn't inherently negative.
Okay.
Within a supportive family, siblings might actually feel more comfortable expressing their needs and disagreements openly.
Right.
And they learn to argue constructively and negotiate and ultimately strengthen their bond through conflict resolution.
So those squabbles over who gets to use the computer first
Right.
might actually be teaching them valuable life skills.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now for the big question.
Okay.
Do our siblings actually shape our personalities?
You know, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And the Psychology Today article tackled that head on.
Okay.
They examined two major theories: social learning, which suggests that we mimic our siblings, and then sibling differentiation, where we actually define ourselves in contrast to them.
Okay.
So imagine like a younger brother with an athletic older sister. He might be drawn to sports through social learning, or he might choose a completely different path, like music,
Right.
to differentiate himself.
Okay, so how do these dynamics play out in the real world?
Well, they did this massive study,
Okay.
over 85,000 people,
Wow.
9 different countries,
Okay.
looking at the impact of sibling gender on personality.
And what did they find?
Drum roll, please.
Uh-huh.
The results were pretty surprising. The gender of our siblings doesn't appear to have a significant impact on our personality traits.
So much for all those stereotypes.
I know, right?
Boys being rough and tumble because of their brothers, or girls being more nurturing because of their sisters.
Exactly. It suggests that the influence of siblings on personality goes way beyond just simple gender dynamics.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Totally.
If it's not just about gender, what is it about our siblings that shapes us?
You know, that's a question that researchers are still grappling with.
Yeah.
But we do know that these relationships have a significant impact, and it extends throughout our lives. Yeah.
It influences not just our personalities, but also our mental and physical well-being.
And speaking of impact, the research review also highlighted the connection between sibling relationships and our overall health. It's not just, like getting along for the sake of family dinners.
Right.
This stuff really matters.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, studies have shown that conflict-ridden sibling relationships can actually be linked to an increased risk of mental health issues.
Really?
Things like depression and anxiety.
Oh, wow.
On the flip side, supportive sibling relationships can be a real buffer against loneliness
Makes sense.
and contribute to greater life satisfaction.
It makes you feel like you're not alone in the world.
Right.
You've got that person that really gets you.
Exactly. Someone who shares that history
Totally.
and those family dynamics.
Yeah. And then you think about the impact on our parents.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as they get older, think about siblings arguing over caregiving responsibilities.
Oh, it's a minefield.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And family systems theory really emphasizes how these relationships are all interconnected.
Okay.
Conflict in one area can spill over into another.
I see.
So marital discord can actually contribute to sibling conflict and vice versa.
It's like a domino effect.
Right. And when you factor in the emotional intensity of caring for aging parents,
Oh, yeah.
things can get really complicated really quickly.
And on that note, the Journal of Family Theory and Review article pointed out how parental differential treatment,
Oh, yeah.
or, favoritism,
Right.
can play a significant role in all of this.
Absolutely.
Even perceived favoritism in childhood can leave a lasting impact on sibling relationships.
It's so true. It's a powerful reminder that those early experiences can really shape our perceptions and our interactions for years to come.
You're right. It's not just about who got the bigger slice of cake.
Exactly.
It's about feeling seen and valued.
And love equally.
Exactly. And those emotional wounds can linger. Speaking of potentially sensitive situations, the research review also touched on the role siblings play when one of them is facing health challenges.
Yeah, siblings often become a vital source of support when a brother or sister is dealing with a serious illness or disability.
Okay.
They might provide practical help, emotional support, or even step into a full-fledged caregiving role.
That must be incredibly challenging
Oh, absolutely.
on so many levels.
Or practically and emotionally.
Right, and I imagine it can really test the strength of that relationship.
For sure.
It seems like sibling relationships are constantly evolving,
They are.
facing new challenges and opportunities for growth at every stage of life.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They're dynamic and complex, just like life itself.
So, stepping back from all this research,
Yeah.
what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge that even if you have a complicated history with your siblings, these relationships have a profound impact on us. They influence our personalities, our mental and physical well-being, even our relationships with our parents.
Yeah.
So understanding those dynamics can be incredibly insightful.
Yeah. And I think it's also a good reminder that even with those who might drive us crazy sometimes,
Right.
there's often this deep well of shared history and understanding.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder, are those childhood rivalries and alliances still influencing us in ways we don't even realize? It's like those patterns are kind of ingrained.
Exactly. And as we've seen today, the impact of sibling relationships extends far beyond just, shared memories or holiday gatherings.
Right.
It can really shape our personalities, our sense of self, our mental and physical health.
It's a reminder that these relationships deserve our attention,
Yeah,
even or perhaps especially when they're challenging.
I agree.
Because whether we're super close with our siblings or, have a more distant relationship,
Right.
there's a lot to unpack and learn from those dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely. And that self-reflection can be so valuable. I mean, maybe this deep dive has prompted you to reach out to a sibling,
Yeah.
to reminisce about those shared experiences.
Yeah.
Or even to have a deeper conversation about your history and how it shaped you both.
I'm already feeling a little bit introspective after all of this.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate those bonds, even with all their complexities.
It's a reminder that within every family, there are stories waiting to be told,
Mm-hmm.
connections waiting to be strengthened, and maybe even some healing waiting to happen.
That's a beautiful thought.
Mhm.
And speaking of stories and connections, we would love for you to be a part of our All Sorts podcast community.
Yes.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of sibling relationships, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Think of the All Sorts podcast like a treasure map.
Ooh, I like that.
Each episode a new adventure,
Yeah.
leading you to unexpected discoveries and thought-provoking conversations.
So join us as we explore the mysteries of the human experience. One fascinating episode at a time. Hit that subscribe button and let's keep the exploration going.